Good day, everyone. It's Radioactive Jack, back again for another podcast. Hope everybody's been well. Thanks to all of you for watching these and for sending your comments. It's nice to hear from everybody and to know that you seem to be enjoying these. I'm in Beijing, China today. I had a beautiful view behind me from the 22nd floor, but it's very cloudy and rainy today, and so, sorry, you can't see Beijing at this point. But it's been an interesting trip. I've had a number of meetings while I'm here with Chinese officials, both from companies and from government agencies, learning more about China and what they're doing in nuclear power. They are really developing it very, very, very quickly. It's huge here, and they have something like 40 new reactors under construction as we speak. It's really great to feel the energy here as to what they're doing. They also have about 50% of the automobiles of Beijing and other large cities are electrified. That's right, 50% is electrified, and they add every month more and more. This is one way that they can avoid burning carbon, right? Oil and compressed natural gas in their cars. It makes the air much cleaner, and of course, it makes them less dependent upon oil. That's an issue right now, of course, because this is being recorded just after the ceasefire has been started in the Gulf between the United States, Israel, and Iran. So here, while oil remains an issue, let's say it's not quite as important as it might be in other countries, because really, to be speaking honestly, they're not depending on it as much as they used to. Also, they are developing nuclear power and lots of other renewables so that they can avoid having to burn coal and other polluting sources here in the country, although they still use a lot of coal, I must say. But nuclear is growing and will continue to grow here. So it's been a good trip. I like it in China. I've been coming here for many years. I have a lot of people who I can sit down with and talk about. I went out to a very nice restaurant with some young folks last night and learned more about what they were doing in their industry and how they live and what life is like here in Beijing. Always very enjoyable to learn more about it. Today, I'm very lucky to have a guest with me, Joe McCourt. I will put him on the camera now. Joe, can you move on in a little bit?
Okay.
There you are. Okay. I've known Joe a very long time. He happens to be traveling in China with me at this point. So Joe, can you explain to us really what you do, who you've been working for, and a little background about you, please.
Okay, thanks for having me on Radioactive, Jack. I'm pleased to be on and hope to be on again in the future. A little bit about what I do is to make the nuclear fuel supply chain more efficient. That's my goal. A little background, I'm a nuclear engineer. I worked for American Electric Power years ago in their fuel supply department. Then I got an MBA and I worked for Citibank in energy finance. Then I went from there to a nuclear fuel broker for about a year and a half, where I met my partner, now deceased unfortunately, who's a lawyer. So we teamed up in 1982 and formed our company. And the objective of the company was to make the fuel cycle much more efficient. So a little about how we do that. First thing we try to do is understand each market participant's situation. Starting from the utilities, we try to understand the U3O8 sources, how they convert the material, how they enrich it, where they fabricate it, and that sort of thing. So what we did from the very beginning is to develop a database of all the players we could. Utilities, converters, enrichers, fabricators. We started pretty much domestically and then expanded into the US. So, and vital in getting this information is personal visits to the companies. So from the beginning, we were on the road. We visited all the US utilities, we visited many of the European utilities and producers and enrichers and fabricators. and we helped develop our database that way. And then when we visited, our objective was to suggest ideas to the companies for them to save money. From talking to a lot of people and from understanding the market, we could identify opportunities for the utilities, the producers, or whoever, to save money. So we would suggest a swap, for example. We sometimes find utilities shipping from A to B and another utility shipping from B to A, and we figured, well, we could swap. So that would save the utilities money, and that would generate a fee for us. So this method is just expanded over the years. Now we have a tremendous database and also a library of contracts that we've done with companies all over the world.
That sounds really, really interesting. I mean, making efficiencies is very important for all businesses, and it sounds to me like you're have developed a good way to help the fuel cycle. But the fuel cycle has changed a lot over the years, hasn't it? I mean, the source of uranium, when I started in the business, was mostly in North America, and now it probably isn't. And enrichment was only in North America, and now it's not very much in North America. So maybe you could talk about how you can adapt to the changes in the industry.
Yeah, well, you just have to be on top of the potential. Take, for example, the domestic market. As you say, like when I started and when you started, it was 100% U.S. origin uranium. The government had a plan where you could buy a certain amount of non-U.S. every year until the restriction finally went off. And the U.S. market was pretty much isolated. And we found out by visiting and calling and going to the conferences, we found out about who had what kind of material where. Like, we brought in some non-U.S. uranium. We did swaps with U.S. and non-U.S. uranium. We found that SWU was going a lot cheaper from certain sources in Europe. Then it was even cheaper than the...
Sorry, can I interrupt you?
Sure.
Because the audience may not be familiar with the term SWU.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about a SWU?
Okay, yes, it's a hard concept to grasp. SWU is a measure of the work required to turn natural uranium into enriched uranium.
Right.
And in the beginning, the Department of Energy published charts to where you could calculate how much SWU you needed for a given loading of material.
Okay, so the basic answer is it's work involved in getting enrichment done. So people have to buy the SWU, they provide uranium, and they buy SWUs to make their material enriched. And so you found a way to trade in that, is that correct?
Correct. Well, to broker. I mean,
well, that's good, that's good. And are you traveling, where do you travel from here?
Well, actually, from here I'm going back to New York for a couple of days, and then I'm going to Monaco, to the conference in Monaco.
The Fuel Cycle Conference, right? Yes. Radioactive Jack will be there also.
Okay, are you going to be making interviews there too?
So I'll set up my my kiosk like I did in...
It's a very efficient way to understand the market, and usually when I go to the conference, I have the list of people who are going to be there, and I have also a list of questions I want to ask them, because I go over our database for each company to see what we're lacking, and I try to understand each company's supply chain as well as they can, because that way they know that you're not just wasting their time. You're conversing with them about something real, and they actually think you might have some good ideas that they could save their company money implementing. So it's a very structured thing. It might look easier just hanging around at the conferences, having a few drinks at the cocktail parties, but prior to that, a lot of time and effort has gone into understanding their situation. And I have to say, it's tougher and tougher to get information. It used to be when we started out in business, the fuel managers would basically tell us a lot. They have contracts with these producers. This is where they get converted, et cetera. And the world is getting a little tighter.
Yeah.
And another thing, well, in that same vein, is how things changed. Many times we have opportunities for utilities to take advantage of flexibilities they might have in some contract. For example, say somebody has 30% plus or minus in their uranium contract, and we know that because they told us.
30% flexibility.
Flexibility, quantity flexibility.
Right.
And for some reason, they don't need that. So we'll go to them and say, hey, you have this flexibility. We know you have this flexibility. Exercise upward flexibility. We'll broker off that incremental at a higher price than what your contract is. And so we used to do a lot of that kind of stuff. But then it was determined by some companies that this was a derivative, and their accounting people wouldn't let them do it.
I see.
And so the accounting people have gotten more into these transactions than they used to, and also the risk management people. The risk managers have to look at every kind of deal, and there's sometimes they inhibit it, and the utility might think, well, it's not worth the hassle to save like $50,000 or whatever it is, because I have to go through my risk managers, I have to go through my financial people, and I got to go through the lawyers, and it just isn't worth that.
Well, nuclear is starting to grow. I mean, it's changing right now, as I've indicated on previous podcasts, because there are a lot of non-utility players coming into the industry now. Hyperscalers, chemical companies, Dow, oil companies are looking at it. Many new players coming in, and new types of suppliers coming in, new reactor designers making micros or SMRs.
Yeah.
So this is a huge expansion.
Yeah.
How are you going to keep your database going for something like that?
Well, I'm expanding the database, and also for me, and I've been in this since 1982, it's fulfilling to educate these guys what the nuclear fuel cycle is like. I mean, what goes on. Because they come from other industries, and they really aren't in tune with what's been going on for years, the way things work.
But they're bringing in new ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
And we need new ideas.
Exactly. I mean, they're good in that they're going to shake up the way things have been done for many years. But I get satisfaction out of telling them or explaining to them how it's been. And history is important, so they can see the history, and they could look at that and say, well, I got a new wrinkle, a new idea. And that's great.
Good. Well, thank you very much for stopping by and having this chat today. As I usually do, I ask my guests at the end if they want to say anything to this worldwide audience, because we do have subscribers now from all around the world, and I think they might be interested to hear anything that you want to say to them generally. So the last minutes or so are for you to communicate. What do you want to say to the world, Joe McCourt?
Well, Joe McCourt would like to say be open to the whole world. I mean, look at all the possibilities and just don't cut something out or not consider something for what you think is political motivation. I'd say try to develop these concepts and ideas without the political thing, and then look at the political thing, because it could work. And you don't know how the politics will change. I mean, especially in this world, we don't know from one day to another what's going to happen with embargoes, restrictions, tariffs, or whatever. So, I'd say go to the nuclear fuel conferences. It's critical. That's where you meet people from all over the world. You meet people in similar situations to yours, and you can ask them what they do, and really enhance your professional abilities by U.S. fuel managers finding out what the Europeans are doing, and vice versa, and talking to the Chinese, talking to the Russians, I'd say talk to everybody at the conference, and just be aware that this is now it's a world market. Like when I started out, it was a domestic market, and utilities didn't want to even consider getting uranium from outside the U.S., non-domestic. But now it's the way it's gone. It's an international market, and you have to be an international character to really understand what's going on in order for you to do the best for your company. So you're working for your stockholders. You want to maximize the return for the stockholders, and to do that, you have to have information, and to get the information, you have to be out there internationally.
Well, good. Well, thanks again for stopping by, and good to see you. And I'll probably see you in Monaco in a week or so.
Okay, thank you, Jack. It's been a great experience.
So here we are, finishing up this podcast. There may have been a little bit of video problem during the middle, but I'm not sure. We'll check that to see. But thanks for paying attention and for listening to Joe McCourt. Very, very interested, very talented, very experienced guy who I think shared quite a lot with you. Feel free to send your questions or comments to me through the chat arrangements we have here at the site, or of course you can always write to me at radioactivejack@edlow.com. My staff and I will review all of these, and we'll get back to you as need be. Good wishes to all of you. I will do another podcast next week from the World Nuclear Association and Nuclear Energy Institute Nuclear Fuel Conference in Monaco next week. Thanks to all of you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.